Hi, it's Suzy with another quick exercise tip. Now today I wanted to discuss with you a couple of important points and show you 2 exercises for dealing with tennis elbow. Now for those of you that don't know, tennis elbow is where you're getting pain on the outside of the elbow area. Around where the joint is, there's a little bone that you'll feel can be very painful. It can affect your grip, so it can mean that it's painful to grip things, but it can also mean that it's weak to grip things, so you might be more likely to drop items or not be able to open jars or door handles. So the exercises that I'm going to show you are designed to help with that. But before we get into those, it's also important to think about your day-to-day activities. It's very easy to forget how often we use our hands with our day-to-day activities. We use them to grip our cutlery. We use them to use combs and brushes to brush our hair. We use them to hold our toothbrush to brush our teeth. So try and take note of how often you're using your hands, because sometimes you'll find that it's not so much the other bigger activities, but it's more the little activities day to day that can cause that build-up of load when we have a flare-up with this kind of condition. The other thing to take into account is that with tennis elbow, if you are doing strengthening exercises alongside it, it's really a good idea if you're using load to make sure that your wrist is in a nice strong position, unless you're focusing specifically on strengthening the area. So if I'm doing some shoulder or some chest work, I'm going to make sure that instead of my wrist being either bent forward, pushed back, or to either side, that it's in a nice middle position, because I know this puts the muscles in their most advantageous position, and that'll reduce a bit of the stress on the area. Now, with the exercises for tennis elbow, one of the things you can do throughout the day is stretches. Now with the stretches, we don't want a sharp stretching sensation. With tennis elbow, the tendons have some little micro tears and some what we would call degenerative changes, so some tissue thickening and some changes to the blood flow to the area that create the irritation. So if we stretch too aggressively, sometimes we can make the situation a little bit worse. So a mild stretch, and we're only going to hold it for 20 seconds. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the area is nice and warm as well. So that can be temperature warm from the shower or from having warm clothes on, or it can be warm from being used. If you've used your hands a little bit in the morning, then it's usually fine to do the stretches. So the muscles that are affected with tennis elbow are what are called the wrist extensors. They're the muscles that bring the wrist into this position here. So if we want to try and stretch those out, we put them in the opposite position. So we're going to gently bring our hand down like so until we feel that mild stretch. We're going to hold that position for 20 seconds. Now we shouldn't feel any sharp pain at that point where you're getting most of your symptoms. You should feel it more along your forearm, and it should be a gentle stretch. What you can do is you can sensitize the stretch a little bit more as well. So if I change the position of my hands, so my fingers pointing in or alternatively out, have a look at both of those positions, find the one that you feel is giving you a slightly stronger stretch and hold that for an extra 20 seconds in addition to that middle position there. Now you want to try and do that stretch every day, and you want to do it a couple of times throughout the day, as long as it's not increasing your pain levels. So remember, keep it very low in terms of the stretch sensation that you get. Now onto the strengthening exercises. I'm going to show you 2 exercises to do with a towel, and I want you to only start by doing these every second day. The main reason for that is A, we use our hands throughout the day quite a lot, as I mentioned earlier, and we don't want to overload the condition. But B, so that you can gauge if you need to use less intensity. If the day after you've performed the exercises you find that you're a little bit more tender or sore, you need to reduce the intensity of your twisting power, which you'll see in a second. So I've just got a hand towel and I have folded it over and rolled it up. And what I want to do, imagine my right hand is my affected hand. I'm going to use my left hand to create as much tension and twist as I can. I'm going to start with my elbow by my side, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to twist it so that it's creating a lot of tightness, like I'm wringing it out. And I'm then going to use the affected arm when I get to the end of that tension to try and pull a little bit further into that position. Now when I'm pulling, I'm going to pull and then I'm going to hold the tension for 5 seconds and then I'm going to relax. But I don't want a significant increase in pain here. So if it's a little bit uncomfortable, up to about a 3 out of 10, with 10 out of 10 being extremely painful and 0 out of 10 being no pain, that's okay as long as it doesn't build up from that 3 out of 10. I want to then rest the area for 10 to 15 seconds, and I'm going to repeat that just another 2 times. Okay, now I also want to train the wrist in a different position because some of the muscles work differently whether we've got our palm facing up or down. So this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold it in my hand here and I'm going to twist as much as I can, and having the palm up, I'm going to try and pull down. So I'm still trying to extend the wrist. I'm keeping the elbow by the side, and the same principles apply. I'm going to hold this for 5 seconds and then I'm going to relax, give it 15 seconds before I repeat that another 2 times. Again, the pain shouldn't increase beyond a 3 out of 10. If it does, decrease the intensity of the twist in the towel and not quite as strong a pull when you're trying to pull it further into that position. So as I mentioned, only every second day for the strengthening exercises, but every day for the stretches, and only aiming for a very light stretch through those forearm muscles. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tip. Stay safe, stay active, and I'll see you soon for another quick exercise tip.